might as well take this, like I say, take this time just to go ahead and at least give Ken an update. So you guys have been meeting with the planning board, so you can see what some of the other discussions have been going on. We had, I'm just going to jump right in. We had a meeting with Robert so that we could discuss what other type of assistance would be available for residents in the town, as well as I know Alicia and Alan have been working on for businesses in the town. But we need to get a good feedback of what's going on in the town, and we don't know if, how long this is going to continue. We don't know the true impact because now it's just May 1st and we're getting numbers for first quarter. So with that, I think that's one of the biggest things we need to do. And I reached out to you, Ken, of trying to figure out what your feedback is from your committees and everything. So that's what we just need to keep doing.
Okay, well, we do have a planning board meeting next week, but we haven't had any meetings at all, for whatever, since the end of March, I guess, or beginning of March, maybe. And the only thing that we really accomplished is we did set up some new subdivision regulations, which was a big deal. We had been working on them for a long time. But in essence, we don't even know who's going to be coming to the next agenda yet. I haven't seen the agenda. We are going to have a meeting next week, no matter what, on the 12th.
Okay.
But it might be a very limited agenda because we're not sure what the applicants are going to do. Alan, you know that Calvin went to the Board of Appeals, obviously, and he got that little approval on the fire station a week or so ago.
Yes.
But he was supposed to come back to us with a site plan, I think the second meeting for a site plan, and that's kind of a low pressure type of a thing. But that's about the only thing that has affordable housing connection to it, I think, that's moving along. The Aho development has been approved. That's the one that's out on Shaker Road. We did approve that, I think, the end of February. And we're sending a notification to Harvard just for your information. I suggested that we send them a letter, just to let them know that it went through our committees. Conservation, I believe, wrote the order of conditions. So that does have a couple of two families built into it, similar to what they're building on Shaker Road, but they're not affordable. They're just a different kind of housing.
How many units are out there on Shaker?
Excuse me?
How many units are going to be on Shaker?
Well, the first group that you see when you drive in there now, there's 8 units right at the beginning of the street that are standalone on their own lots. The subdivision, which is one of those, it's open space residential development, has 16 buildings and 6 of them are duplex, so there's 22 units. And they're clustered, around the pond and conservation land out there, abutting a golf course, actually.
Yeah.
So that's about that. On, Mark keeps telling us that there's going to be other drawings coming in, for potential developments. But until that happens, nobody really knows for sure. If anything's changed in the economy, who knows for sure? So we'll have to wait on that.
No, understood. But I think that's what we just need to do is make sure we keep our ears open and get feedback to Alan and Alicia as much as possible, because they do have, if you guys want to go ahead and just let Ken know about the CDBG grants and whatever that may be available.
So some of the we're taking in front of the Board of Selectmen just a very brief outline, and hello, Kitty, about what we're going to be doing in the next month, which is looking for feedback on the numbers of the need for an emergency rental assistance. Janet, Ken Martin, and I went to a training program for emergency rental assistance through MHP and CHAPA about a week and a half ago. And it was very informative. So it was about using CPC funds. It was about using CDBG funds and any funds that the town wants to put in towards emergency rental assistance. Janet then went forward and started reaching out to people to find out what some of the need is, because the first thing that was really clear was we had to assess the need. And so far, the need seems almost to be more in mental health and in food assistance than it does yet in rental assistance. I was really hoping Ron Morrison was be here, and I just got an email from him this morning that he had a showing in Belmont, so he couldn't make the meeting. He did write us an email, I think maybe everybody saw that, saying that some landlords are doing an adjustment on rents and giving forbearance on allowing people to be late and things like that. But that's something that can't be sustained forever. So, but that's the first thing I've heard yet about rents. Now, I'm looking for ideas of how we can reach out, not just reach out to people. It's clear, Janet said she talked to people over at Loaves of Dishes. I know Alan's talking to people at Loaves of Dishes. And so that's one thing. Food is clearly a need. And I don't know if that's something that we would be doing. We're really about housing, but we've also been tasked with how to help in this crisis period. So there is the possibility of doing an online survey that allows people to respond. I've done SurveyMonkey surveys before, and you can just do it and make a click button on the website, and we can put it out on Facebook. It costs about $100. And if people want, we can put something like that together, and I can send it out to everybody to look at the questions and things to see if people. The unemployment numbers, we only had them to the end of March, and right now they're not bad. Yeah.
I can put that together for us. I've
Okay.
been doing those for the DPW, and we can do it with.
Yeah, you and
no
I did
cost.
one years ago, remember?
Yes.
Oh, and it was no cost, yes. Yeah, so we can do that if that's what people think we should be doing. Any ideas on that?
Well, like I say, we really can't take a vote because we don't have a quorum, but I would imagine getting something together so that the next time we do have a quorum and we meet up, you'll be able to show something. I think that would be a good idea. Because no matter what, it's going to take like a good another month before we get a better idea of what's going on.
Yes, we should have the April unemployment numbers. So the March unemployment numbers, and I was looking at it, and it was the last week in March that people really got laid off. The start of the layoffs. And they didn't show up in the numbers for the last, because we can see up to the last week of March. Now that we've finished April, in the next week, we should be able to see the April numbers.
Mhm.
and we can see those for each town.
Right.
You're talking about there's weekly unemployment claim numbers that they publish, every Wednesday. Do you have access to those? I mean, the last 3 weeks.
Where do you see those? Do they get published every Wednesday? Because I was on the state site and I only saw up to the end of March.
No, every Wednesday they come out with a list on the federal level. So I presume they get it from the states, and the states have got it somewhere, I'm sure. But
Yes, but the state goes
last.
down to each town.
Okay. Well, it's normally every Wednesday.
Okay. The town numbers were up to through March, but they didn't go past that a week ago.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, we've got this federal unemployment, but I want to know how people are faring in town.
Mhm.
And if there's anybody having trouble paying their rent. And there's a possibility that with the extra $600 a week, they're not having trouble paying their rent. It might be something that's further out where they're having trouble paying their rent.
Yeah. Right. A couple, like say within more towards the summer, because things are going to start drying up because the federal government can't continue doing these additional $600, $1,200 or whatever. Because I know they're talking about an additional $2,000, but the money's got to come from somewhere. So like I say, sooner or later, it's going to dry up. Or else our great grandchildren will be paying for it.
Our children.
Yeah, right. If I could just jump in, and I agree with all of you, and Janet especially. I think it's going to be the longer term impact of this. We're going to conduct our first Zoom forum for our small businesses in Ayer next week, and for the larger corporations as well. And because what I'm hearing is, when business reopens, business is going to be conducted by new rules in a different way. They're going to have restaurants will have more limited staffs.
Do you guys have a fire alarm going off there?
We can still hear you, Alan.
Okay. So you're going to see a lot of our restaurants and businesses probably lay off staff. There's going to be reduced staffing. It's going to be slow. I'm getting some wicked. So that's what I think.
You got
You're right.
Cindy there. Cindy's helping you.
Stimulus money will, run out, and I think the worst days are ahead.
I can't, Alicia.
I just muted myself. I was seeing if that would help with Alan.
Oh, okay.
Let me mute myself again, Alan.
Okay. All right, does that help at all with you guys?
Yes.
Yes? All right, so anyway, no, just, that's it. So I think the need's going to escalate into the summer and fall as businesses start restructuring and realize we don't need all the staff because we can't operate at 100% for a while. So, and the other part of this, there's, I think, unlike businesses who need assistance, there's a stigma. Some folks, are going to feel reticent, letting the world know, here's my situation. I can't pay my rent. I'm in trouble. So you're right, Alicia. We got to find the right platform where people feel comfortable and, sharing what they're going through so we can find out how we can get them assistance. So this is tricky stuff. It's very, it's socioeconomic stuff. But I agree, and I'm issuing a survey out as well to the business community next week. We'll start our forums because this is it. We really don't know exactly what they're experiencing, how they're functioning, and what type of measures they're going to put into place to try to reopen their businesses. So I agree, guys. We're all going to gain understanding, I think, over the next 2 and 3 weeks as to exactly what we formulate to be of help and support. It's very unclear right now.
True. Like I say, when I'm getting the feedback from people when I'm walking around, like say downtown area and such, is that we are such a service-based community when it comes to downtown businesses that even the heating and electricians and plumbers, they're only going out for emergency work and that's it. So they've had to let staff go. So all that is limited. One thing on your survey, Alan, I don't know, you've heard about the restaurants go ahead and opening up as grocery stores and such. Would those be some of the questions too that you'd ask of the restaurant owners?
Yes, exactly, Jen. And that's why when we our business, this is going to be.
All right, I can't hear you, Alan. I'm sorry.
I'll mute again.
All right, so those are the questions. Yeah.
Yes, that's one of the first ones because I know a number of the restaurants have already inquired about that, if they might be able to do it. And I know certain cities have allowed that and towns. So, yep. And that's why, we have like the folks from Tiny's are going to be one of the participants in that forum next week. Marco's on Maine. So we have some of our restaurateurs so they can, again, it's a listening session. We need now to listen to them. We need to listen to them so we can understand what can we do to be of best service. And we have limited resources too. And we have to make sure they understand that. We run a pretty lean operation ourselves, right? And we have to be realistic about what we can do. And I'm the first person that always, goes a little over the edge, a little overly optimistic, a little, right? But this time we have to be very moderate and very measured. And I have to do that myself next week. Make sure what we can realistically do to help.
No, that's good. On the CPC side, with the hat, again, to remind people, The 3% surcharge was approved at the fall town meeting, which means it gets put on the ballot. So June 2nd, question number 1 would be to approve the surcharge increase. When the CPC met last week, again, all the members are torn because one, it is on the ballot. We can't take it off. Do we go out and, I mean, we were ready to emphasize, support that 3% and such. Again, because of the crisis that's going on, we're torn. So what we've done is I've asked if we can moderate, like, say, some of the signs, where it's more of, if this increase can happen, these are monies that can be used for the future, of looking at as, feeding that housing trust that can be used for rental assistance. Let's look at the future instead of just today. I've asked the assessor on how it's going to impact businesses, because businesses can't opt out. Individuals can. So that's one of the, like I say, one of the sticky parts as well. So we're going to have an information session on May 6th at 7 p.m. Well, say 7:15 at our next CPC meeting. So it's going to be call in if you have got questions and such. I'll be sending everybody a link to a support the CPC website that I created that has some information about this difficult time of why we're, that one side, we really don't want to put any more impact on the individuals and the residents and businesses. But on the other hand, we need to look for the future. And if we can do this because the ball is rolling, it would be great. So it's up to the voter at that time. All right, so I want to let you guys know that we've got that information session on May 6th.
So I was really looking forward to having this meeting. I felt it was very important because I needed to hear from people like Ron Morrison. And as I'm sitting here, I remembered I got a listing from Ron Morrison for storefront, and I'm trying to remember which store. Oh, it's for the old art gallery storefront. They have let go of their listing.
They went out.
Yep. So we really need to hear from some of our members. One of my questions for you is, and we're supposed to have a report for the Board of Selectmen. We're doing a minor report this time, but we're supposed to have a report for the Board of Selectmen on May 19th. Should we be trying to have a meeting on the 8th or on the 15th? So how about if I send out an email to everyone and find out who will be available for either of those 2 days?
Yeah, that would be good, because then we'll find out from Steve when he can meet, because he may not be able to meet in the during the daytime. It may have to be, evening.
Okay. So I'll send out a just general email. These are some possible times. When can people meet? We really need to get everybody here. And in the meantime, we can be putting together more information. If anyone hears anecdotal information, I mean, Ken, I know your wife works over at the church. What kind of phone calls are they getting?
Well, so far it's been pretty mild. No panic. They're just trying to stay in communication as much as they can with the parishioners. But at the moment, there hasn't been really anything dramatic that's noticeable. I guess if that's the way you want me to explain it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's what we're hearing too. Other than mental health, Hillary wrote a very good.
Yeah. That was a little scary reading that, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think that mental health, I think that alcohol abuse will probably be coming forward. Food issues, those kinds of things are going to be the forefront, the very first issues that come forward. And we as a group need to be able to report to the Board of Selectmen on all of these kinds of issues. Even though we're really about housing,
Mm-hmm.
we still have to be able to say, well, this is what we found. It might not have been within our bailiwick, but it's what we're finding out there, or what we're hearing about out there.
And Alicia, could you mute for 1 second? So I
Yeah.
could, okay. And I'll just make note, so Alicia and I, we submitted our CDBG grant for the fire station the first week of March. And, when we wrote that grant up, I had to, do very deep, heavy analysis of poverty and at-risk populations. And Alicia and I, when we did that, and this is who I'm thinking of right now, the most single women head of household with children 5 and under and 18 and under. So again, single women head of household with children. The percentage of those in this town living at or below the poverty level. This is not low mark. They are living at or below the poverty line in this town. Our numbers were higher than Fitchburg, Lowell, major cities of poverty. We have single women heads of household. The number was shocking. I think it was 57% are living at or below the poverty level. What is happening to them right now, those women with children? They were already at the poverty line or below before this when the economy was raging, right? So that's who I'm thinking about right now. What are these women doing with their children? How are they surviving right now?
So I'm going to do an anecdotal. I have a friend who is a single woman. She does not have children, but is definitely she's below the poverty line. And she was working, but she was working at under a job that did not pay a living wage. And she got furloughed down to 10 hours. Now, remarkably, because of the $600 a week addition, and the $1,200, she told me that she was up until that point because they had actually cut her hours because it was after Christmas, so it was winter, and they don't need as many people. She's in retail. So she said, I kept looking out my window to see if they had repossessed my car. And so she goes, but I got all this money in and $1,200 and $600 extra a month because she was able to enroll for unemployment even though she was working 10 hours. So with this additional money, she was able to get her car current and things like that. So with the stimulus from the federal government, people are possibly a little bit better off than they were if they knew how to enroll for unemployment. And that's possibly something we should be talking to the library about. Do we need to do any training programs and making sure people are getting what they need and that sort of thing? Or even, do it through the churches or whatever. That's something we can talk about as well. But so in that one instance, she's doing better right now. That doesn't mean that she has a living wage and she doesn't, and that she's going to be long-term, but she's using this as a point to get caught up. She goes, I know other people aren't doing as well as I am, but for me, it's working. So that's just an interesting story.
I think one of the benefits of living in Massachusetts is that apparently people have been able to get what they're entitled to in Massachusetts, but that's not the case around the country necessarily. So we actually you might be right. We could have a pocket that's different here. Maybe that's why we haven't noticed anything. But if you watch the national news, you find out in Florida, like 2% of the applications have been approved. And, some outrageously low number in Florida because they have an antiquated system and poor response. Massachusetts has been, on the front of improving their computer systems and doing things. And so I was apprehensive because I thought it might be a little unfair that everyone had to be online to be able to do this. And some people cannot get online or they don't have the capacity. So it's good to hear somebody was able to get it done and, it's working. So
I know that I've heard, say, when you talk about people getting online, when I've spoken to some of the officers out of Lowell, Lawrence area, a lot of the schools have not been able to connect with a lot of the children there because, again, they don't have the capabilities in some of those big cities. And we are very lucky, of the area that we do live in. But it doesn't mean people are not falling through the cracks, as Alan says. I know this is a town that has a lot of single moms. I know, like I say, I was one. You know, my son has graduated and moved out, but it's quite a town that embraces, you know, us single moms.
It's, as Alicia would say often, this is a town you could come to and make it if you didn't have, you know, a lot of me, that this was the place, right, Alicia? You'd say this was a place of last resort in this area. You could go to Ayer and probably make it. I think the other advantage somewhat, you know, is that we are still a small town in terms of population. And sometimes that, at times like this, we can't connect with everyone, unlike where the city I'm from, I won't say the name of it, you all know, but you know, we have a population of 110,000. Here, there are about 8,000 of us. So at times like this, that the smallness of the community is an advantage. It's an advantage.
Agreed. Oh, you got to turn yourself back on, Alicia.
There. So one of the things that we, Ellen, and I do talk about is all the towns around us are quite a lot wealthier. So when women end up single, they can choose to come to Ayer and be okay. And so, and the town of Pepperell also is one that is so of the towns around here, there's a number of wealthy towns and people want to stay in the area, but they can't afford to stay in the town for whatever their financial situation is. So there's a couple things I'd like to be working on, and I think the first thing I'll work on is just getting a note out and finding out when everybody can meet again, because I think we should meet before the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Right.
I mean, not Tuesdays, but the following one. And then we should be actually talking about some of the possible programs we could be looking at, because I think Ellen and Janet, I think everybody's right on track here, that the money will run out, and if the jobs don't come back storming, we could have people that can't afford to pay the rent. And there's still people that could still use, we were talking about doing the rental program anyway, there's good guidelines that have been put out on it. So Janet, let's put together, we'll talk about what we're going to reach out to everybody for and what the next discussion is going to be about.
Okay.
I think you shouldn't worry too much about your 3%. I think you should hear what people say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I do want to, because again, there are people who are still saying, yeah, you know, it would make sense, because it would help out. And for the homeowner, $90 more a year, it's like, okay, that's a cup of coffee, you know, a week, you know, whatever, that they're not doing right now because the businesses, you know, happen to be closed. You know, so some of the feedback that I've gotten, a lot of people are saying, go for it.
I'd say go for it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's going to be June 2nd for that decision. And I found out from Robert today that should the election not happen on June 2nd, the Springtown meeting on June 15th, the two of them are separate. So they could still have a town meeting without having an election if the election gets pushed. So we don't know, again, it's a month from now, of what's going to be for social distancing and such. But we're aiming for that June 2nd date. And I think getting word out, like I said, I'll send you the website so you guys can give me the feedback of the information. It's just done by citizens of Ayer, not by the CPC. This is totally different because the CPC can't, you know, really do stuff like this. You know.
Isn't it, couldn't you use the idea that, you know, emphasize the idea that that component of the CPC does make money available for affordable housing, you know, the reconstruction of, and instead of emphasizing maybe open space so much this year or the other, you know, historical renovation, whatever the component is, emphasize the fact that it's affordable housing that has a chance of picking up some of those funds, and that gives it a little different twist.
Yeah.
in
And the
this
town-
environment. But when you think of, is that what, based on the average price of a house in town, it's the $90, is that what the assessor told you?
Yeah.
Basically. So a house that's what, $375 or whatever the average prices are,
Yep.
something like that. So
Mhm.
that's 90, that's only $15. Oh, wait a minute. How much is it? I don't know, $20, $21 or $22 a quarter, put it that
Right.
way. Something
Right,
like that. And
Mhm.
so, I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think most people in the town have had, the other thing you guys should remember is that most people have had a good 10 years, a good run in this town. So it's not like we're coming into this in bad shape. We're coming into this with a lot of people having been successful for quite a long time. Some of them just recently moved into the town in the last 4 or 5 years. I don't think those folks are thinking that things are that negative. I think they're going to think that we're going to come out the other side and things are going to be fine, as hopefully it is, but none of us really know for sure. But what I'm getting at is that I'll bet you most of the people who moved in the town in the last 5 years came in with a very positive twist on Ayer. And, it's another step, I think, to keep that positivity going is to say, we look into the future and we want to, support these kinds of things which we've done in the past. I thought that list you put out was great, when you had the fall town meeting stuff and whatnot,
Sorry.
whatever. That's my own opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's good to hear that. What we did at the meeting, because we had to do the disbursement amounts between the 3 categories, and it's mandatory that it has to be 10% for housing, historic, and open space. And that's
Okay.
what we did. We did 10% for each single one of them and put the rest in what's called the undesignated fund, which means
Right.
that can be used for anything. If we need rental assistance, the housing trust, it can, like if you throw it into housing, that's the only thing it can be used.
Yeah.
So with doing it that way, that gives us a lot more flexibility. And I
Right.
think that was great that the team, voted on it that way. So again, that answers what you were saying. We do have more of those funds that can be available.
So another thought on gathering information is possibly, I really wanted to talk to Ron about landlords, but Alan, maybe we should work with him and get a group of landlords in here to talk about what's happening
That's a good
with
idea.
landlords. Here, I'll mute myself if you want to respond.
Yes, Alicia, no, I couldn't agree more. And I wasn't right thinking of that, but you and I know a number of them, right? Good relationships. And I think they would really appreciate, that would be a great session, just to invite maybe a group of between 8 to 10 landlords. Wow. Excellent.
All right. Like I say, make sure you get the word out that, we'll have that CPC information meeting on May 6th at 7, like I said, 7 o'clock. I'm going to make sure Cindy has it so that we can put it on the websites as well. They will be dial-in numbers, just like with this. There are dial-in numbers. With it being a dial-in number, I've got to pause and say, if there's anybody here from the public who's got some feedback, who is online, you can speak now as well. Okay, just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anybody, who called in and we were going to miss them. Anything else that we want to go ahead and cover, Alicia?
No, I think we're pretty good. We'll get the emails out.
Okay.
I've just sent over the housing production plan to Janet, and we're going to try and get that pulled together. I've got to get it after Janet and Alan take a look at it. We'll get that back to MRPC, but we'll cover this in the next meeting, and we'll try and have a next meeting in a week or two.
All right. I think the 15th's looking better for me, but I'll wait for your email and send it back. All right. Guys, thank you very much. And Ken, thank you for showing up.
You're welcome. I'm right here. Didn't have far to go.
I love this commute.
I do think we need to get a clarification, and I forgot about, I might have an email from Stephen Quinn. I need to check that because possibly that qualifies as a resignation letter. But we also need to, clarify whether Hillary is a member or not.
All right, I'll let you reach out to Hillary unless you want me to.
Yes. And then we've got to talk about what size the committee should be, whether it should be 7 members, whether it should be 5 members, what it should be.
Okay.
Sorry. Go ahead, Janet.
No, I was gonna say, when we established it at 7.
Right, so I was just going to add, any changes or additions to the committee have to go through the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
Great.
Good, I'm on the same wavelength, Carly.
Yes, we are, for sure. I've been seeing you more now, Janet, this way. Holy moly.
Oh, what did I tell Robert, earlier today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So you can tell him that's what I did.
will do.
All right.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Good meeting. Well, even though it wasn't a meeting.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Bye,
job.
everyone.
Okay.
Bye.